preparing a stream the meeting. I'll give you the green light in a minute, Jay. All right, Chad, you're good to go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the November 17th meeting of the City of Greenville Multimodal Transportation Commission. I would like to call this meeting to order. And if we could start with a roll call to establish quorum. Donna?
All right, Mr. Chad Carwin,
Present.
Miss Deanna Evans,
Present.
Mr. Bob Edwards,
Present.
Mr. Daniel Hemme is not here. Mr. Andrew Denton,
Andrew's present.
Mr. Trey Smith, I knew he wasn't. Mr. Hunter Payton, Miss Dee Dinsdale. All right, we have enough for a quorum. Remember, we're being recorded. If you're not speaking, mute your microphone. If you are not showing a photo, make sure when you speak that you announce, please. Thank you, it's all yours.
All right, our next item on the agenda is approval of the September 15th, 2021 minutes. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion made by Bob Edwards to approve the minutes from September. Can I get a second?
This is Andrew Denton, a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say your name and approve, and we will just go through the list. Chad Carwine, I approve minutes.
Approve.
Bob Edwards, approve. Andrew, approve.
And on the phone, I'm sorry, could you just say your name and approve on that?
Deanna Evans, approve.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we have approved the minutes from the September meeting. And the next item on the agenda is new business. Before we go into our 3 items on new business, I would like to make a motion to add an item to new business, a brief discussion about the American Recovery Plan, the ARP funds that are expected to be available in the new year, I believe. And I don't really have much prepared on that. I just wanted to put it on the agenda and get people thinking about it. Do I need to get a second and like get everybody to approve that, to add that to new business?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to do that.
Okay. I've made the motion. Can someone second that if we would like to add that to new business tonight?
Deanna Evans, I second that motion.
All right, thank you, Dion. We have a motion made by Chad Carwine and a second by Dion Evans. Would everyone in favor please state your name and say if you agree?
This is Edwards, I agree. Andrew Denton, agreed.
Okay, great. All members present for the meeting have indicated that they would like to add this as a new business item. So I'm going to put it on here as item D, and I'll lead that discussion. Again, not a lot of preparation, but just want to seed, so to speak. The first item of new business is item A, Integrated Mobility and Enhancement Plan, and I'm going to hand it over to Ryan Mayers to present that.
Thanks, Chad. In our last meeting, I briefly discussed our Integrated Mobility Enhancement Plan. It is pretty much our 5 to 7 year transit and mobility study for the city. We're working with AECom as our consultant. Where we are right now is that we're preparing for public engagement and having a public engagement event on December 3rd. I think that event is going to coincide with the tree lighting at 5 Points. I think it's on the corner of Evans and I forgot, yeah, but 5 Points, that location is where it's going to be. I know that the commission, it's important to me to have you guys involved in the process of this plan, get your feedback, so on and so forth. So I was speaking with the consultant yesterday about ways to involve the commission, and one of the ways would be with distributing surveys, taking the surveys, going to these events that you can be present at and give substantive feedback on your thoughts on how mobility should move forward within Greenville, because this is more than just a transit, bus plan. This is pedestrians, cyclists, just overall mobility within the city. So as we look to integrate mobility throughout the city, we wanted to get good rounded feedback from all parties involved. So I'm going to ask some questions in my meeting tomorrow. I'm doing a follow up with the consultant tomorrow about maybe focus groups and seeing if that's an option as well. But I just wanted the commission to be involved. I just want to give you guys continuous updates each time we meet, give you an update on how the plan is going. Estimated completion of the plan is scheduled for April. But before anything's finalized, I'll bring drafts to the table and things of that nature, so we can, so you guys can have some say and put your sense in as far as your thoughts and ideas on the plan. So that's it for right now. I'm sure there's some questions involved, so I'll be more than happy to take some.
Yeah, I since I wasn't here for the last meeting, and again, I apologize for that, Ryan, but could you give a brief description on how that differs from the active transportation master plan? I participated in compiling, information for that and served on the committee, the advisory committee for that. This sounds similar, but I can obviously see some differences there, with regard to the integration of active transportation and public transit and personal vehicle transportation.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this one is we're looking at the theory of integrated mobility and how we can put that theory into practical practice, in a sense, right, with our city. This city has obviously leaps and bounds to go before it's considered like a major metropolitan area. But for what we do have currently is the potential to have a robust mobility network. Our uptown region is the most dense region. And I don't want to get too much into the uptown circular because that's my next kind of bit, but it's ways to how do we get people around uptown Greenville, in a more efficient manner, right? How do we get folks around the area of whole in Greenville a lot more efficiently and effectively? Looking at coverage versus frequency, certain things of that nature. Our system hasn't really changed. Our transit system, that is, hasn't really changed in quite some time, and our population has increased. The population of Greenville has increased pretty significantly. Now, I'm not sure if the census 2020 depicts that change, and that's due to just people participating to take the census or not. But anybody can tell you from over the past 5-7 years, the city has grown tremendously, and with that growth, there has to be plans in place to move people around, and whether that's in a vehicle, whether that's cyclists, whether that's walking, because that's a major part too, right? People want to feel safe when they're walking. They don't want to have to run a 40 dash just to cross over a boulevard, right? So it's important to feel safe while you're walking, and bicycling and cycling is incredibly, you have to be safe for that one as well, right? With cars opening the doors, with just respecting the road and sharing the road and making the most use of the road that you're on, whether that be a sidewalk, whether that be Greenville Boulevard, whatever it is, getting the most use out of the road. So that's what this plan is looking at. AECOM's taking a very comprehensive look at mobility across Greenville, and that's kind of what we wanted to go at with this plan. So maybe it differs a little bit from the active transportation plan if that one focuses mainly on bike and ped. This one throws the transit option in there and connectivity and coordination with other surface transit modes in our area, such as PADS, such as ECU and Biden. You know, we're talking about 4 modes of bus transportation in one city of about 90,000 people. We can find ways to coordinate our mobility a lot more efficiently than having buses along the same route. So this plan is taking its time. Like I said, we're looking to finish it up in the spring of 2022. But of course, before it's finished, I'm going to take you guys along the journey with this plan, and I think that's incredibly appropriate to have you guys chime in with thoughts, because your thoughts are incredibly important and perspectives from being citizens of the community.
Just a couple of follow-ups on this. I'm assuming that you all are looking at the ATM, the Active Transportation Plan, the master plan, like as a part of like fact gathering stage for.
Yes, in the beginning, they're taking all different plans that were being conducted and they're doing this. So right now they're in data collection and analyzing data stage at this point. So they're still kind of going through.
The timing is interesting because I'm also serving on the Pitt County, transportation master plan as well. As far as, if your plan is released in April, I just feel like that would be something I would want to share with the, the state DOT folks that are working with the county folks on that plan as well. I don't know at that point if they will still be trying to integrate recommendations from other plans. But if there's anything you can share in the interim that I could pass along to that group, because I'm a part of a pedestrian and cycling subcommittee on there, and we just had our second meeting today, or third rather. Just trying to make sure all these plans are aware of the other plans and, connecting the dots, because for instance, on the Active Transportation Master Plan, they produce like spec sheets, for potential projects. And that leads into my discussion later on with the American Recovery Plan, that if we already have something that, we've done the research, we've done the studies, we've got some preliminary designs for, we're just looking for funding, those are kind of like package deals that are ready to be proposed, that hopefully in the next couple of years we could accomplish some goals and objectives from, a variety of these plans if they're all sort of synergistic. The December 3rd at 5 Points Plaza, that will be, you said, in collaboration with the tree lighting. Is that going to be like a table where there's a map and people can, put sticky notes on there as far as like providing public input? And are you going to be creating some sort of flyer to go along with that we can distribute, as well as the online survey?
All the above. You're correct.
Okay,
so
great.
That's the route that they're taking, and we're going to have a bus out there, and we're going to be, that's one location. We're going to be on a location north of the river as well. We're going to be north of the Tar River. So we're going to be getting out to the public. So as I get more information, as we make that more concrete, the data is concrete, but we're going to get, things like flyers and stuff like that together. I'll shoot emails out to the commission so you can help with the distributing of the.
I'd really like to be involved in trying to get the word out about that.
We literally talked about that the other day. I talked with the project manager on the consultant side, and we literally said that. So I knew you guys have no problem with helping, spread the word and also provide feedback.
Yeah, especially with the ECU community. I know that Bob and myself can, distribute it out to thousands of staff and faculty, residents of the community, and hopefully get some student participation as well. The final thing that I would just like to have people consider is that we really only have one more meeting before the completion of this integrated mobility enhancement plan. That would be our January meeting, seeing as how we only meet every other month, so no, I take that back. January and March, I guess we would have, but that's getting close to the time where you guys are trying to wrap things up. So if we have, any sort of significant contributions, we really need to have those prepared for the January meeting.
Yeah, I'll be sure to, even beyond the meetings, though, Chad, when things come up with the plan that are of major significance, I can just email you guys,
Yeah.
just in general. I think the meetings are cool, but the good news is I have all your emails, so I can just shoot an email to you guys whenever something significant comes up, or we make a milestone and I feel like that milestone needs to be reviewed, or want to get further input in it, and I can just shoot it out and put a date on it for feedback.
Yeah.
So, our meetings are great, and we'll discuss, further detail January and March, but you'll be along for the ride, so you're all set.
Excellent.
No
What
doubt.
questions or comments do we have on the integrated mobility and enhancement plan?
This is Andrew. Ryan, just a quick question.
Hey, what's up, Andrew?
Is that the that plan? Is that the same plan with the link you sent out last time, or is this a different? Is there a different link, or can you send that plan out to us just to review via email if we can't make that true?
I don't remember sending a link out to a plan.
That was, I guess, that was on, I think, ArcGIS or something. I think that's a different project. Maybe.
Oh yeah, something different. I don't have that one, but I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, is there a way to view the 5 to 7 year plan on City of Greenville's website or anything, the proposal, and provide comments that way?
Yeah. When I get information back, when we get some milestones completed and we get some information, I'll just shoot it out to you guys via email. That way you don't have to go searching for a link on a website.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks.
Directly.
That sort of sparked another thought in my mind. Is this the next iteration of a prior plan? Is there one that we can look at from before, maybe like the previous 5 to 7 year plan or anything like that, just to get some ideas?
If I get the link to the plan from 2013, I'll be more than happy to share that with you.
Okay. I think that would just kind of help us, frame our scope for this, in terms of weighing in on it, because what you've discussed covers a lot of basically everything. I mean,
it's a lot. It's a lot. The 2013 plan, it differs from it in some ways, and in some ways it kind of builds on it, because not sure how much we'll accomplish from the 2013 plan right now. So we're just looking at innovative ways and maybe different ways of looking at mobility. And if you know what I'm saying, mobility and not transit, because really it's about just moving people and getting around in an effective and efficient manner. So that's really how we want to view this plan, is as I recall it, integrated mobility enhancement plan, because we want to enhance on the mobility access around Greenville.
I think being able to take a look at the last one would definitely help me respond on the survey, as both a citizen and a person that needs to mobilize and get around town, and a member of this commission. If you could share that with us and then follow up with the details on, public input events and the survey, that would be great, Ryan.
I got you.
What other thoughts or contributions we want to make on this new business item? Dion or Bob?
The new item is on the large amount of federal funding that's being decided about how to use. Am I reading that right?
No, that will be like the last new business item. This is just the integrated mobility and enhancement plan that Ryan presented at the last meeting. We'll get to the federal funding later.
Okay. I mean, I would just say that as a relative newbie on the commission, any information that can get sent out, previous plan, anything on the new one would be really helpful, because I'm still trying to get up to speed on pretty much everything.
That's a good point, Bob. I'd be happy to compile some of the resources over the past few years that I've been involved with this commission, and share some of those pertinent resources with you, just to not to read in depth, but just to kind of skim over and see what we've done. Stuff like that. I think that would be a good exercise for myself anyways, to share some of those things with you. So I'll make a note to do that.
That'd be good. I'd just suggest, take the semi shallow pass, and then if I feel like I need more detail, dig deeper and provide more, rather than go to the trouble of doing it all now.
Well, and there won't be an exam afterwards. So I think,
trust me, if there is, somebody won't be taking it.
All right. Well, it doesn't seem like we have any more comments on the integrated mobility enhancement plan. So we'll move on to item B under new business, which is the Emerald Express. I've seen a lot on social media about this. Looking forward to hearing more about it. Ryan?
Emerald Express. Emerald Express is a pilot trolley program that we're running right now. It's uptown circulated. It's about a 6 to 9 month pilot program that the city's running. Using trolleys as our main mode of transportation. And it has about, off the top of my head, I think about 13 stops. Headway is no more than 15, 20 minutes. It kicked off November the 4th. That was the kickoff for it. It's kind of like a soft opening. I don't know if you call it soft opening or not, but there was a couple of media presence there. The WITN ran a little story on it, and I think it's going to be a nice touch to the city. It's really neat. I think Emerald Express is a really neat name. It is a pilot program, so we're gathering data and seeing how this works. What are the pros, what are the cons? Throughout the program, things can change, right? You can have some stops change, you can have locations change, so on and so forth. Councilwoman Daniels, she and I got on the trolley a few months ago. We took it for a spin. It's nostalgic. It's neat. People see it and they hear the bell ringing, and I think it's just a cool touch for the city. We're just in this stage, just really seeing what the data looks like from the ridership and the response from the community. Currently, the hours of operation are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from noon to 8 p.m. So you're getting a lunch hour there, then noon to 2, maybe a little bit of an evening period from 5 to 8. The midday period may be a little slower, but you're getting a decent chunk of time there, 12 to 8, and it is free of charge. There's no fare for this trolley, for the Emerald Express. So I'm pretty sure you guys may have seen some of the signs across town, uptown Greenville, kind of like holographic kind of looking. So it's an exciting expansion of service for our city, and just hoping it goes well over the next couple of months. So any questions about it, I got you.
Ryan, yeah, I've got
Hey, Bob.
at least one.
Sure.
So this is it's a 15-minute loop. I guess I'm wondering, is there 2 trolleys or one? It's just one that keeps going around the circuit?
Yeah, it's just one trolley. One trolley. You have a backup trolley as a spare ratio. You have a backup trolley at the yard just in case something happens mechanically. But you just got one trolley riding around the loop, just operating as a circular for uptown.
So the seating capacity is like, what, 20 people or something like that?
Seating capacity, I think, is 28.
Okay.
28.
Thanks.
Around that time, no problem.
Kind of curious.
Okay, this is Dion Evans. I have a question about the trolley.
Hi, Dion.
Is this going to be a year-round event, or is this something that I know they have a holiday trolley. I've seen the Jolly trolley that goes around. Is this sort of a takeoff on that? Is this something that's going to happen 12 months out of the year? Is this a seasonal thing?
This is not in conjunction with Jolly Trolley. Jolly Trolley is a private-owned trolley, motor transportation. This is a public, so it's the city. And right now, the pilot program is scheduled to run about 6 to 9 months. So in this time, when we're gathering data, so view it as somewhat temporary for right now, because we're seeing, will this work? Does this work? So at the end of the pilot program, for the testing phase, it's a very long one, we will analyze the data, which should be the feedback and the ridership, and just the public engagement overall of the trolleys and the response from the community. See what works, see what doesn't work, and see if it if it's a, if this addition makes sense for the, for the city.
So if it works well enough, it would be potentially a year-round thing.
If it works well enough, yes.
Okay,
It's permanent service.
cool.
You know?
Thank you.
Brian, I have a couple of questions.
What's up, Chad?
Was just if you mentioned collecting data, do you have any ridership data after the first couple of weeks?
I do. Yeah. It was the first couple of, first 2 weeks, the total ridership about 58 passengers. So
It takes a while to get the word out about things.
It's gonna take a minute before folks jump on any sort of public transportation. Still, I mean, COVID is not over.
Mm-hmm.
Vaccinations are available, but they're not particularly mandatory for everybody, right? So people are going to have their own views on shared transportation and mobility.
Yeah.
So that's a factor. But then just also a factor is just a new service. It's going to take time for it to pick up. It's going to take time for it to. But if but that's all part of the pilot. If you start realizing, it's been 6 to 8 months or so, and man, the ridership is still low. We have to make decisions based off of that. So there's going to be many factors along this journey, and it's an exciting one. But we'll take our time making the appropriate decisions to get the feedback from them.
I think with the upcoming events, the tree lighting, and we've had a new establishment open on Dickinson Avenue. Like some of those things, hopefully will boost the ridership rates, in the coming weeks and stuff like that. I'm excited to hear about that. The question I had, is it ADA accessible?
It is.
Is there? Yep.
It is. Yep.
Okay. That's great to know. And then
so both trolleys are ADA accessible, and then the backup for that is we have a cutaway, which is like similar to a shuttle van.
Okay.
You can picture that, which is also ADA accessible. So, but the main mode is the trolley to serve as your circulator for uptown. But yes, it is ADA accessible. Good question.
And then just one more thing, building off what you said earlier with COVID and hesitation to travel via shared transportation, just as a public thing. We obviously have millions of viewers for the Multimodal Transportation Commission every other month when we have our meetings. So
we do.
Something that masks are required, so that people feel safe about getting on the.
Yeah, still, still masks are required. We're spraying that vehicle down, with our electromagnetic sprayer. So, that hasn't changed. Mask required on all public transportation, whether it be Uber, whether it be a plane, bus, train. That's just something that's probably not going to change for a while. That's just kind of how our society is direction moving in. So masks are required anytime you enter a public transit facility and or a vehicle.
Yeah, great. Well, are there any other comments or questions about the Emerald Express, the Uptown Circulator? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to item C under new business, and I'm going to try my best because I wasn't here last time. WAPO update. Can I get a breakdown of what that is? Elliot?
Yes. Hi. The MPO's update, you mean for now or the
Okay.
previous?
MPO.
Yes.
I was just I hadn't seen that acronym before. So yes. If you would please. Yeah.
There's like 3 types of acronyms. WAPO is one of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I've been waiting on some updates, but they're not ready yet for some items. We will discuss them in the next meeting. But for now, at least we have a time for the press release to the changes of the MPO boundary and population estimates. Census says that they will release it by spring or summer next year. But that's about it. And I'm preparing an email actually to send to Bob and copy the rest of the members with our 2 main adopted plans, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the Active Transportation Plan with the mapping tool, just for your reference in the future.
Thank you. Be looking forward to getting that.
Chad, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, Elliot, did I hear you say that the census updates for 2020 survey would not be available until spring or summer? Is that what I got?
At least where our meeting happened today with the
Uh-huh.
associations of MPOs, and at least the department within the department working on the boundaries designation and the population estimates. There's changes to the criteria what constitute an MPO, so that is part of what is holding this. They're still working out how they're gonna set new MPOs and how to change that criteria. How will that affect smaller urban areas? So after all that is decided, hopefully by next spring or summer, they will finally release our new boundaries and population estimates.
Okay. I know that we've always teetered right on the edge of like a small city, like with our 100,000 population. Do we know if we've crossed that threshold, or are we anticipating to cross that threshold? And will that have any impact on this?
I think we are above 100,000. I think it was.
I would assume so, with all the growth that we've done.
2010, I think it was 137 or 157, but yeah, it is, since they are changing the criteria, that might change the boundary of what will fall within the MPO. And we had 2 hours asking them questions, roundabout questions to the same. And they didn't answer.
Well, we'll just all have to wait and see, I guess. So
yes.
Well, thank you for that update, Elliot. I appreciate it. Item D under new business was the one that I requested that we add, and that was concerning the American Recovery Plan. My understanding is that the infrastructure bill has passed. I'm not sure if it's been signed into law yet, but the general consensus is that, you know, like people and entities need to start preparing to submit applications for federal funding. And in this, you know, I don't know all the details. I'm woefully unprepared to lead this discussion, but I was informed by a member of the Environmental Advisory Commission that I report to periodically and you know, advise on a regular basis. This is for the city of Greenville, the Environmental Advisory Commission, the EAC. That they will be drafting a recommendation for the city at their next meeting, which I think will probably be January, on how to use the forthcoming ARP funds, American Recovery Plan, and that there's a good chance that they're going to place an emphasis on green transportation infrastructure. I don't know that that's an official term, but that's how they described it, including physically separated bike paths, that they would like to emphasize. And basically them emailing me to let me know about that made me think that, you know, it's worthy of a discussion for the Multimodal Transportation Commission. Either, you know, these are just my thoughts, but, you know, we could form some sort of subcommittee that would work on drafting our own recommendation letter, or we could, you know, reach out to and propose working with the Environmental Advisory Commission on some sort of joint letter of recommendation, not knowing what else theirs will include, because there's a lot of other types of green infrastructure that don't necessarily have to do with transportation. But I do think that this is something that we need to weigh in on, and we need to advise our council members that these funds are available, and that we, you know, here are our recommendations on how they should be spent. And this isn't, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, like I said before, we have this active transportation master plan, and it could be something as simple as, you know, advising them to propose certain projects from that active transportation master plan. I think there was 25 to 30 that the consultants actually drew up like spec sheets for, and were, you know, recommended based on public input and stuff like that. I mean, this is a a plan that the city government funded, consultants to develop, and we've put our money into researching it. Why don't we recommend that the city apply for funding to actually install and implement some of those recommended plans? I guess I'll just stop there and see, who else has thoughts on this, but I do think that this is sort of a once in a decade opportunity, that there's going to be a lot of money available to enhance our infrastructure, and in particular, make our community a more active transportation friendly place. So I'll just toss it up there to anybody else that has thoughts on this. I'd be happy to take the lead. I have a close relationship with the EAC and could reach out to them to kind of see what their what all is going to go into their recommendation letter, and if we feel like it's something that we could jointly sign on to, or if we need to craft our own message. But I do feel like this is something that we need to prepare for and pursue.
I have a question, I guess. Just to make sure that I'm on the same page with the conversation. This is a $20-some million pot of money that, I don't know, a couple months ago, month and a half ago, there was some stuff put out in the press and other sources about where the city might propose to spend some of this money, like on improvements to Guy Smith Stadium, other things. Am I thinking about the right thing?
I'm not sure where you got the figure of $27 million.
Chad, Andrew. That 27 million from from some COVID relief bill back.
That was COVID relief. Yeah.
Okay, but we haven't spent that money yet, right?
I don't know. We have a city councilman. I believe they have a plan for it. I don't know what that detail
So the American Recovery Plan, the ARP money, has not been spent. And so yes, it's $24 to $25 million. And we are still accepting public input and reference. We have to come up with a decision how to spend the money by 2024, and it has to be spent by 2026.
Okay, so I would have a question about that. In some stuff that I saw, there was a proposal for, and I won't remember the number correctly, but 300 or 400, some number of hundreds of thousands of dollars for like bus stops, but improvements at Great System and others, bus stops around the city.
The bus shelters.
Bus shelters. And so one of my questions is, whatever the proposed amount is, what proportion of all the bus stops in the city would get upgraded with that amount of money? Because I don't know, personally.
Well, a study would be done, and someone else maybe have answered that a little bit better than me, but I do know that a study would have to be done to see where it's needed the most, how much it would cost in what areas. So yeah, and that would take a little bit of time as well.
I mean, I guess for what it's worth, my own perspective is every single bus stop in the city needs to have a place to sit down and some sort of minimalistic, at least, roof over your head. I've just seen way too many, around where I live on 10th Street, single moms with a couple of kids in tow and 5 or 6 plastic, grocery bags from the grocery store, standing out in 90-degree shadeless, waiting for the bus stop. And if we're getting a once in a decade chunk of money to put into things, I know, again, maybe I don't know. And my point is simply that I think that's something that's been long overdue in the city, and it's worth more, at least to me, than extra parking spaces at Guy Smith Stadium. And and if that's the kind of thing that could like if the subcommittee Chad's talking about, would weigh in on some of that as well as related things, I'd be happy to participate in such a subcommittee. But I mean, compared to some of the other things I've seen that the city's proposing to spend money on, 21st century, or frankly, second half of the 20th century bus stops seem to me to be a significant thing if you actually expect more people to use the buses. Anyway, this is a hobby horse for me, and I will get off of it now.
No, I agree with you, Bob. I just think, I'm a proponent for that. And also, my younger years, I rode the bus a lot. So I know the inconvenience of standing in the rain, having to wait for a bus or the wind and the cold. The downside to that is every bus stop is not on city property. So it's a matter of getting permission from homeowners or business owners to, be on their property and all the ins and outs of things like that. So, but that's what the study will be for. And it'll talk to a variety of different people to see what we can do to ensure that as many people as possible are covered eventually. But that's going to be about a year-long project, if not more.
I'll just say now that if there's a niche or a role in that study for citizen participation, count me in.
You got it.
Maybe, Councilwoman, could you give us more insight in terms of the timeline for this? I know that you mentioned applications have to be in by 2024, funds have to be spent by 2026, but more realistically speaking, when would we need to have, as a commission, sort of a list of recommendations or our wish?
No, now is the time for what your recommendations. There aren't applications.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. It's coming together, deciding what the city will do with this portion of the money, which has not been decided yet.
And in terms of having, for us to be able to give the council and city government employees enough time to consider our recommendations, what would you recommend, or can you recommend a date that you would feel would be the best way for us, to have our recommendations considered and sort of thorough?
Now is the time, whether that's whether it's, chairman going and speaking to someone with the city, coming to the city council meetings, during the public comment period, because the money, how it's being spent is being considered now. We've had a lot of nonprofits, show up and give their input. So now is the time.
And you would recommend just public comment period at a council meeting, or
why not?
Better appropriate, like a letter of recommendation?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we received a letter today from the Neighborhood Advisory Committee to all city staff. So that's very appropriate.
Okay. Well, it seems like I have some interest from Mr. Edwards. Would anyone else that's on the call, Andrew or Dion, and we've got to consider this, because if more than two of us get together, whether it's virtual or in person, but if more than two of us get together, we have to put it on the calendar and stuff like that, because it then becomes a meeting that requires public notice. Those are just the rules. Would anybody else be interested? No matter what, we are going to circulate this through our commission, most likely via email, as soon as we can get something together. But would anyone else like to be a part of that process?
And one thing I think would be wise is to maybe discuss it maybe with one of the city managers, assistant city managers, to make sure that the request that's coming forth falls under it. The money should be spent, what is it? West Greenville, Uptown Greenville, and north of the river.
Okay.
So if that's my understanding is correct.
Yeah.
So.
And again, I put this, or I were asked to add this to the agenda. I've got a lot of homework to do myself, as far as understanding.
I'm still doing homework, yes.
And stuff like that. So I appreciate all the information you're giving us, because this is all new to me, as far as the rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not having heard anybody else weigh in, I feel like this is something that maybe Bob and I could connect together on offline and sort of put just, at least an outline together that we can share with the commission as a whole. But it also sounds like this is something that, if someone is passionate about it on a personal level, could go and make their voice heard as an individual and not even part of this commission. But I'd be happy to, like I said before, take the lead, reach out to Bob, and we can kind of come up with a few items and then circulate it within this group, maybe get a email vote and get something submitted, in the next few weeks.
Yes. On that score, I'd also say that, and I don't want to sound like intentionally skirting the rules, but if anybody else on the commission wanted to meet one-on-one with me without Chad there, just to talk about, put our heads together and weigh in on this,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to meet for coffee or something and have an unofficial meeting with anybody else on the commission.
You offer me coffee, Bob?
Pardon me?
I said, you offered me coffee?
Yeah, but we'd have to flip a coin to see who had to buy the first round.
Okay.
Credit card roulette. There you go. Okay, I'm just jotting a couple notes down. I like to, take down my homework items as I go. Otherwise, I'll forget. But anybody else want to weigh in on American Recovery Plan funding and recommendations? Okay. ARP. All right. Not hearing any, we will go on to our next agenda item, which is the proposed agenda items for January 19th. I don't see old business on here. Was there anything of old business that we needed to continue the discussion on from the last meeting, or have we pretty much covered all that?
Pretty much covered all that. It was
Okay.
nothing of note.
Just wanted to double check, but does anyone have any proposed agenda items for our January 19th, 2022 meeting? Okay, I'm not hearing any.
Would it be appropriate to put on the agenda sort of like an update on some of the stuff we just talked about? Meeting about the, like a letter of support or whatever for, this one process, and
yeah, looking at our new business for this meeting, as far as I'm concerned, that an update on each of these items, including what we just discussed, would be appropriate for old business for our next agenda, just an update on each of these things. And then if there's any new business items that we need to discuss, bring them up now or just email them to Ryan between now and the next meeting, or the call for RSVPs to the next meeting, like sometime early January, try to get new business items to Ryan. Sound good?
sounds good.
Okay. All right, well, that takes care of everything that we had. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
This is Dion Evans. I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All right, Dion, I will second your motion. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say your name and indicate by saying aye.
Edwards, aye.
This is Andrew, aye.
Carwine, aye. And Dion made the motion. So I think we're good to go, y'all. I appreciate it. And it was